Okay, so good morning, Madalena, on this cold, frosty morning.
Yes, it's really cold here in. Good morning, Kate.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about new ways of looking at the novel and perhaps putting the novel in context, in its huge context. And this goes back to our original point, which is Kleist and Germanic studies. Germanic studies and then Kleist. Kleist from the point of view of a writer. We looked at Anne Frank as a writer. Yeah. We looked at the point of talent, which is crucial to a writer, and we looked at that in one of our videos. And today we're going to look more closely at the novel itself, and what is the novel, and how does that affect what we're talking about?
Yeah, from a technical point of view, from a technical perspective, we need to talk about novel now from a very close perspective, because at the end of all this, we will be able to say that Michael Kolas, which was one of the main points at the beginning of our videos, we want to say that Michael Kolas is a novel, and it is a novel from a very contemporary point of view.
Yes, I think that's the whole issue. When I said that novel, the enormity of the word novel,
yes.
Where it comes from, what it means.
Well, actually, novel nowadays is quite a slippery issue. It's applied. It's very difficult to discuss about it because we, as contemporary readers, we don't care actually about the structure, about where it comes from. We just care about being entertained when we read a novel. We must say at first that the novel was codified as a genre during the 19th century and partly also during the first part maybe of the 20th century.
So it's very, very recent, the whole word novel in effect.
Yes, but it was not born. It didn't arise during that period as many critics, are supposed to say, usually say.
Oh.
And it is quite a curious thing, quite a curious issue, because there are many studies nowadays which testify the fact that the novel has always been there in different forms. This is true.
Yes.
But we're talking now about something new, and this is the reason why we have been developing during the last months this concept from another point of view. We have been reading really a lot. We have been researching, the two of us, just because we care about it and we want to say something which is based on a real technical, philosophical structure, mathematical from a point of view too.
Yes. So this 99,000 page long novel.
Yes, yes.
Of course, like a novel isn't 99,000 pages long. It wouldn't be a novel anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? Because the sagas went on and on and on and on and on. They were they novels? They were not novels, and yet they were literature and they were entertainment. And I think that was a point that you wanted to bring out, the whole aspect of entertainment.
Of entertainment, this first, but Kit, another thing first. It is new. Why new then? New implies that there must be something old. That in this way we are talking about something which was not present before, and something about we didn't know about. And yes, it is not so easy to explain now.
Yeah, it's probably artificial as well to say that the novel started at a specific point in fairly recent history, and one suspects that there would have been a reason for that, or more than one reason.
Yes, if we want to be very critical towards this kind of attitude, we should say first that maybe there is not such a progress, such a thing as progress in literature as it is supposed to be, I don't know, in other
Fields.
in other fields of our life, for example.
Yes, because the idea of progress is quite strong. We progressed towards the novel, as if it was some extraordinary thing that suddenly happened.
No.
Whereas something that really did happen was the Industrial Revolution.
Yes, and some critics, some scholars says, well, many scholars actually say that the novel was developed, really started during the Industrial Revolution. A fact that I do not agree with, because that would mean that yes, we
Yes.
actually, yes, we should, because novel, as we are saying, has always been there, and since ancient times. Well, I mean, it's there because we have always been the need of being entertained.
Yes. Oh, I mean, even before people could read, could write, they would, if they had any moment of spare time, they would be singing probably songs, stories which recounted the history of that tribe, that people.
Yes, and it is not. It is not a matter of development. It is not a matter of progress at all.
Yes.
Because we've always been the same. The novel has always been there, and well, we're nothing new. We're not developing anything, and from this point of view, I do not believe in progress, or at least we cannot talk about progress in literature or whatsoever. Maybe in other fields of our life.
Yes,
we
I could do with some central heating in here.
Yeah.
It's freezing
Yes,
in here.
we have maybe the illusion of progress, but actually, I don't know.
Human beings are human beings. We have our basic needs, and those never, never, never change.
Yeah. Well, if you consider that we have atoms of dinosaurs in ourselves, or primitive alga in ourselves, because...
You might, I don't.
Yes, of course, you too. I mean, we are that.
Yes, no, we're all there. It's all a continuum.
Yeah.
Yes, and it goes back before the European development as well. I mean, we think of going back to the Greeks and the Romans for literature, but in fact it goes way, way, way beyond that, into Africa.
Yes, how
China.
about those literatures?
Yes.
That well, we don't know anything about them, and we are so arrogant sometimes that we say, okay, we have the dominion about well, over all of this. We know everything about literature, the development of literature and whatsoever, but it's not like that. I mean,
no, it's much more complex than that. In fact, people like Margaret Doody, Martin Bernal, they've spent their entire lives researching, where are the roots? And in fact, the roots go back as far as human beings or humanids seem to have been around.
yeah, there are some points we all agree upon, because the fact that a novel must be fictitious, fictitious,
yes.
Thank you, once again, fictitious in prose and long. Well, this is a rule, this is a fact, I mean. And the fact that it must be entertainment, okay. But how about the rest? How about its form? How about, I don't know, the writer? How about how the writer composes, how the writer works at it, which ingredients he or she takes,
Yes.
how they mix everything up
Yes.
in weird combinations,
Yes.
in mathematical, chemical, or geometrical combination.
Yes, especially the very, very new novels, which seem to be mixing many of these things, and the barriers seem to be falling away. There's poetry and there's letters. There's a diary aspect to some novels. The whole thing about writing is that it's constantly changing, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
It makes it so interesting, and well, above all, this aspect of mixing up everything. and the way every writer can do it.
Yes.
I mean,
And from that, what do we get from novels? You wanted to touch on that, didn't you? The importance of reading.
yes, because you get inspiration from reading other stuff,
Yes, and you
other people's stuff, of
Yes.
course, because you must feed the beast.
Yes,
I mean,
the beast
yeah.
must be entertained.
Yeah, the beast
Yeah.
must be entertained
Yes.
on the one side, on the other side. If you are a writer, if you are a composer or whatever, someone who writes,
In some way.
yeah, in some way, the beast inside, this talent, it must be fed.
Yes, and it gets fed in terms of you identifying in some way with the people in the story, or not identifying, but realizing that you're part of an enormous community of people, which is the human race.
Yeah.
But I was thinking this morning on the way here that it works at subconscious levels as well. I mentioned to you Wallace Stegner, and when I was reading him, Angle of Poise, I suddenly noticed the music in the actual music,
Yes,
and the way he was using vowels in the structure, in the structure of his sentences, and there were high notes and low notes. And I was thinking, well, music works at a subconscious level. So he is expressing something that is unexpressible in words, but he's expressing it through the actual sounds of the vowels. So the complexity of all the things you get out of novels.
Yes.
And this is why they're so essential and have always been essential throughout time.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you feel attracted by this, by books in general, by, I don't know, by written stuff, by written letters, by written codes.
Yes,
I mean,
codifying what you're thinking in those
Yeah.
words. Whatever it is, I mean, it could be it could take any form whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we don't want to get boring or
That's enough. We could go on for hours, but
yeah.
we could stop there also. But there is one thing that one should definitely pay attention to.
Yeah, books make you happy.
They do.
Yeah, they do, because in books you can always find something new, something which, from a chemical point of view, coincides with your own self, with your deep self. And even if it sounds maybe superficial or, I don't know, out of time, because reading is considered also an activity for desperate housewives, bored girls, lazy people. Well, we are maybe desperate housewives.
I'm not lazy.
Lazy people, because we sit there with our books and we think about them too.
Yes.
But it belongs to our nature, to human nature. We need to be entertained. I mean, if we want to, yeah.
What about people who don't read? I'm reminded of my mother's doctor. She went to a new doctor, and she always would start a conversation by saying, "What have you read lately?" And he said he never read anything, ever, ever, ever. He didn't read. And it was pragmatic, you know, he didn't read. And so she took it as a challenge. And next time she went to see him, she took him a pile of books and said, "Try these." And he said, no, I won't read them. And she said, "Try them." And he was very, very surprised, because he thought that books had nothing to tell him, and all of a sudden he discovered an entire universe.
Yeah, I know scholars, for example, I met them actually, and well, I got scared, because they threw away magazines which were considered, as I said, superficial or maybe, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they could not understand that you can draw inspiration from that kind of stuff, even if it is, yeah, superficial, because we need to be inspired. I mean, everyday life can be very disappointing.
Not necessarily. Has its moments.
Yeah. So, come on, just read.
Just read.
Bye.
Books make you happy. Especially photography books.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
This was very serious.